Good afternoon and good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining our presentation today. We are very excited to cover a topic that has been, of course, top of mind this year as we have to deal with the pandemic and we have to deal with new challenges in the tax and accounting industry. So very excited to introduce our panel for today. Thank you everybody for joining on an afternoon here in Georgia. It's 2 p.m. Eastern time, and I know morning in some of the West Coast states. Now the panel is a very good panel for today. We have Joe Rogers, Enroll Agent, President of Federal Direct Tax Services. We have Shannon Bond, our Vice President and Segment Leader for Wolters Kluwer Tax and Accounting. We have Anthony Sampson, Enroll Agent as well, and Solution Architect for Wolters Kluwer, and myself, Marketing Manager for Wolters Kluwer Tax and Accounting. So I'm gonna let everybody say hello. Shannon, how about we start with you?
Hey everybody, thanks for joining today. We're excited about the panel and excited to share some insights and thoughts with you.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. Looking forward to kind of going over what we've just kind of wrapped up for the season and what we're about to get into.
Thank you, everyone. I'm looking forward for everyone. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Looking forward to going over a lot of content. It's a lot of changes that you may want to adapt to and consider making some updates to your business to be more profitable and be able to attract and retain more clients. So we're looking forward to the topics that we got to cover today.
That's right, Anthony. And the discussion today will talk about top challenges and lessons that we've all learned in 2020, and we have different perspectives. We have Shannon from a corporate perspective, from the industry side, as a software developer and leader in the industry, with TaxWise and Wolters Kluwer Tax and Accounting. We have Joe as a business owner, his perspective. And then Anthony, you talk to hundreds of tax and accounting professionals in a daily basis. I know that you talk to several, you present the solutions, and you're also a practicing EA. So we have different perspectives on the topic. We'll address what we felt were the top challenges and then how to grow from here. So what are we doing in 2021 to move beyond some of the things that we've identified we needed to improve as a tax and accounting industry. We'll also showcase some of the technology tools that you need to have in mind for 2021. So if you have any questions as we go through all of this content, there is a questions tab on the GoToWebinar screen. You can submit a question at any point. The question will be answered either privately as a reply back to you on the Q&A, or we may ask your question live to the panel, and that way everybody benefits from the answer. Now, the recording of the session will be sent to everybody within 24 hours. So if you're watching the recording, thank you for doing so. Sorry we missed you during the live webinar. If you have any questions, our contact information will be provided at the very end. So, and thank you to everybody that is already submitting your questions. I appreciate that. So it is my pleasure to introduce our main panelist for today, Joe Rogers, Enroll Agent, Founder and President of Federal Direct Tax Services. Joe, you have been a TaxWise user for many years, I believe over 16 years, is that correct?
Yeah, we're coming up on a couple of decades here really soon.
That's a very open statement there. I think yes. We don't want to date ourselves just yet.
That's right.
But you have been using TaxWise Online specifically since 2006, and that is at the very early stages of the solution. So even before cloud solutions and online tools were even top of mind for anybody. So very excited to have your perspective on the topic. I know also that you have consulted over the years with over 1,900 independent tax offices, and that is consultation on how to approach the tax and accounting industry, how to get set up, how to move beyond challenges, etc. So those insights will come into play as we discuss the top challenges that we've had in 2020. So I'm going to let you talk a little bit about your background and then your business background, just to learn more about Federal Direct Tax Services.
Sure. Well, we got our start back in 2002. Working with the TaxWise product before a lot of the online stuff was really in the marketplace. And, we take our skill set. We've got a group of enrolled agents, tax attorneys here on staff that work with startup tax offices. So helping them with their software choices, helping them with technology choices, helping them with licensing, compliance, and those type of items. along with general tax and technical support. So, we've kind of chosen TaxWise as our vehicle for the tax preparation industry, and when we're helping offices and trying to help them and guide them through a decent software solution. That's really been our baby for, like I said, almost 2 decades now, and we're really looking, we're happy with it, and like having one solution that kind of meets all of our needs. That online product was a excellent step in the right direction, and it's been fun seeing that from beta testing back in, I think it was like early 2006, to where we've came to now with some of the mobile products and stuff that are tied in.
So, and Shannon, with that, let's talk a little bit about the background on TaxWise Online. I know you've known Joe for quite a while, and you've seen the history of Federal Tax Direct progress over the years, and the implementation of online increasing from only a few offices to now 80% of his business being run online.
Yeah, look, I think the involvement with Joe and Federal Direct over the years, Joe, I think you were the first commercial customer we had live on TaxWise Online, and certainly the contributions you've given us over the years to make the adjustments, the innovations, the new things that need to happen to the software without our customer base participating in that innovation, we can't get it right? We have to make sure that product evolves, but it evolves in the right direction. So we're just super thankful for, I'm not going to say exactly how many years, Luis, because I'm already dating myself, but I started when I was like 10, so
Me too.
That's right. And so with that, Shannon, I think we are going to launch our first polling question. And what we want to do today is not only share, obviously, insights from what we've learned from our 2020 season, but also to poll the audience and see what your experience was in 2020. So the first polling question that we'll have and we'll all benefit from is, how did the filing deadline extension to July 15th affect your tax business? Did you see an increase in the number of returns that you prepared? Did you see a decrease in your tax return volume, or did you stay pretty much the same? So we'll show the results out for everybody to see the information, and we've seen a mix of results every time we've polled this same question over the past few months, sometimes a 50-50 mix between increase and decrease. But what I've noticed primarily is that not everybody's saying that the volume of returns decreased due to pandemic and due to the extension. So everybody's businesses has been okay, with all of this. So that's been great. Is that your experience, Joe, as well?
Yeah, it's if you would have asked me the same question back in April, I probably would have had a panicked answer for you. But happy to say our numbers ended up for returns filed here once we finally got to the actual some deadlines coming up. But yeah, it's been very spread out and stretched out the season, but thankfully for us, we did actually see some growth in our return counts.
That's great, and that's somewhat representative of the results that we have here from the audience. Hopefully everybody can see it, but we have 37% on I was able to prepare more tax returns, so that's certainly where you fall in. Joe, 50% on no increase or decrease in return volume, so you kept pretty much your same number of returns, and then 13% decrease in tax return volume. And I think that's representative of what we've seen in the past few months every time we run this poll. So thank you everybody for answering, and let's go ahead and move on to the topic at hand, and that is top 2020 challenges. And Joe, I'm gonna go ahead and let you take the lead with the first 3 that we've identified, because they all have to deal with customer interactions and getting ready to deal with the situation and maintaining growth as you've been able to do.
Totally. Well, the first one on there talking about post-filing interactions, that's been exceptionally affecting to us. The way that we work with our offices around the country is we provide those representation services. So if a taxpayer filed a return, it doesn't get funded in a timely fashion, we're the ones that try to figure out why and how can we expedite that funding. and everything's been slower now. Everything's slower. So, one of our common delayed fundings was if you didn't indicate that you had marketplace healthcare. You had some health insurance premiums that needed to be on the return. Client maybe didn't bring in the 1095A, so it wasn't on there. Normally, that's a 2 to 3 week delay. Now we're talking about months for that paperwork to physically get to the IRS, for it to come across somebody's desk, and for that refund to actually go through getting funded. So it's, those interactions have stretched themselves out, and keeping the clients informed, up to date, and, so that they know that their situation is actually getting addressed and getting worked, even though it's taking 60 days, even longer, is super important. I know if I don't get any response back from somebody after 30 or 60 days, I'm pretty sure that they forgot about me. And, it's our job as the tax professionals and the intermediaries with the IRS is to eliminate that thought of that we're not working on their case. We are aware of it, we're addressing it, and relaying those delays out to the actual taxpayers who have a hard time understanding that it could take 100 days to open a piece of mail. For typical industries out there, that's not normal, and that's been definitely one of our biggest communication challenges, is just the stretching out of those interactions. Sticking with our clients throughout these extended due dates. I can't tell you how strange it was. April 15th, we're in here, okay, we're going home. Or I guess I was in here, most of my staff was working from home, but April 15th, we're shutting the doors down at 5 o'clock. They're having dinner with the family. I can't tell you the last time I had dinner on April 15th. So it's been interesting. We're talking about some at-risk clients on here. We have a lot of offices that seem to really dial into the niches of clients that they deal with. Some of them target maybe elderly clients. Others, go after different niches out there. But those elderly clients in particular, when we shift to remote preparation, which is kind of a big push that we had during the COVID situation, that's a lot more challenging for those specific client bases that are out there. And I think we'll talk about that, kind of in more detail, but you really got to know who you're addressing, and what their concerns are. Some folks are perfectly happy scanning documents, taking pictures, getting them to you. Others, that might really present a big problem. So, as great as a lot of the technology advancements are that we get to utilize now more than ever, you got to remember really who you're dealing with and maybe what some of those issues might be when you're talking to them.
Those
Yeah,
are
and
just
that's
amazing.
gonna be. Go
If
ahead,
I could
Shannon.
just jump in, Louise, like that's the fun of conversating on a video chat. And so I would just add to some of what Joe said, that paper process at the IRS. Well, we're all moving forward with technology. We walk around with a phone in our hands all the time. We expect immediate results, immediate action. If we can't buy it on Amazon Prime, right, we're on to what's the next place I can go. And I'm not going to buy from a site that moves too slow or won't let me check out quickly or whatever it is. That's great for millennials, great for the Gen Z population. But then we go, if you think about your own parents and their ability to sort of adapt to these new, I'm not taking a picture of my W-2 on my phone. Like that's, my phone doesn't even take a picture, or I don't know how to do that, or I don't feel comfortable. It's very uncomfortable for a lot of the elderly population to do that. And I think also your comments about the paper process at IRS is just super fascinating to me, that we are watching a service of 60,000 plus people go to work remotely when they have to qualify that work as transportable or not, or portable or not portable. And obviously the security of taxpayer data is imperative. And sitting on 20 million plus pieces of mail when the pandemic hit and they all went home. To me, the fact that IRS has gone from 20 million to 6 million, like I don't even know what 20 million pieces of mail looks like. It boggles my mind, right? But the fact that they've been able to whittle away at it and get it, granted, it's a slow process. They're making some rewind. There's automation they've now put in place to actually scan the mail so that the remote workers can go through it and work with it, which was, in working closely with IRS, an enormous lift for them to get their compliance folks on board with doing that. So they're making progress. As tax professionals, I think it's really important to understand kind of what they're going through and try to manage that as best you can with those clients that are impacted. The people at IRS are trying. They're trying to do everything they can, just like all of us are in navigating through this pandemic.
You know, relaying what you said to the actual taxpayers, everybody is totally understanding. It's just they don't know that literally they're sitting on these millions of envelopes that haven't even been opened. Like, I can't fathom that. Like you said, what does that even look like? Couldn't tell you. But when you explain it to the taxpayer, like, oh, okay, that makes total sense. I understand now that it will be 60 days before I hear anything. And as much as that really might not be the answer they want to hear, they're not upset about it. It's understanding. You know, that's kind of the world we're in right now.
Right. A lot of patience and a lot of tolerance.
Yes. Yes.
And as you mentioned, Joe, representation services, which you offer, that's also a challenge with all these IRS delays.
It's opened up a service line for us that, you know, is a revenue generator. But, you know, we've really had to weigh out how we're dealing with those clients, what type of services we want to offer to get them informed, to get them the information before we actually put a cost or a dollar figure out there for those services. So that's kind of been a juggling act as far as these new services that come into play on a typical tax return that you normally wouldn't have. So that's it's been good. It lets us prove our worth, lets us show what we can do, and then you know, hopefully in a normal season we'll be the go-to for when those things pop up.
And that's a great segue, Joe, into the next two bullet points, Anthony. A lot of tax professionals, and I know you've heard about this in a daily basis and weekly basis, they have to keep up with all this new legislation. And as Joe just mentioned, you have to learn, of course, how to support, how to provide answers, and then how to transition the, you know, casual, I'm going to give you an answer for this, to, okay, now I'm going to have to charge you for the answer. It is a consultative answer, and, you know, you're taking time here, because all of these questions, of course, you know, they come in and they're new to everybody.
Absolutely, Luis. Definitely keeping up with the change in tax law. You know, I'll never forget March 27th when the CARES Act was signed into law. You know, CCH Answer Connect was definitely a go-to tool. And you got to understand, the pandemic just started. People, you know, at the beginning of March, I remember I ran a half, no, not a half marathon, a 10K with my son on March 1st. And then 2 weeks later, the whole world is shutting down. Everybody's confused. What's going on? What's happening? And by the end of the month, you've got new tax law legislation that came into place. So using tools like our CCH Answer Connect, we actually have a dedicated section on our Answer Connect platform that lists everything out related to what's going on with the CARES Act and how individuals are being impacted and businesses are being impacted. And what do you do if your business, if you had to close your doors, what kind of actual tax help incentives are available to you? So being a resource to clients, that was exceptionally important, exceptionally important to keep them engaged. But then also too, there's new types of services. You know, tax season turned into loan season / unemployment filing season / how do I get my recovery rebate? What is it? Stimulus check season. That's what it turned into. You know, there were some clients that needed help with filing unemployment claims. And in fact, in the state that we live in and I live in, unemployment claims for the employer, especially if they're an S corp, the employer had to file unemployment claims. That was something that the Georgia Department of Labor put into law. So having to communicate that to the business clients, things of that nature, was essentially important. And then also to navigating through, well, which product do I get? Do I get a PPP loan or do I use the EIDL? What's the best option available for me to keep my business open? So those are some of the things that were important. And in fact, I've got just a small group of clients, of friends and family. In fact, I hosted a Zoom call with those friends and family and tell them, hey, here's what's changing, here's what you're gonna have to do, and things of that nature, so they can keep up abreast of what's going on. So those are some of the things that you have to do to keep clients engaged during that season at risk. I shouldn't say at risk, that actual pandemic season when it first started.
And Joe, so how did you manage all of that? You know, all that consultative, you know, question here and there. Did you start charging for that type of service? Did you provide it to the public like Anthony did? You know, I felt like you just had to host a webinar and inform everybody as opposed to answer questions one-on-one, Anthony. So, and how did you handle it, Joe?
Well, you know, we're in a unique position here where, you know, we're working with small tax offices around the country. So my kind of rolling information downhill goes to those tax office owners and then out to the taxpayers and their clients. And I got a small group of friends and family here as well that we prepare also that kind of similarly had questions coming from all different directions. But our biggest thing was really just communicating CARES Act information, what's out there, what's known and what's not known. Because the interesting stuff about this legislation is that as quickly as it came out, we're really used to, it takes, years, it seems, to make any type of structural tax law changes. And, here we are coming off of the TCJA changes that got implemented and had questions along with it and that still haven't been addressed. And now we have this coming into play that, the PPP stuff, what type of business are you? Were you profitable last year? What's your income this year? How many employees do you have? I mean, there's so many moving pieces. It's very difficult to really nail that down to this is the message for you. So kind of like, I like the idea of what Anthony was saying is maybe get them into small groups and be able to find out what type of business are you, and this could be the fit, maybe this isn't a fit. And that was one of the nicest things we were able to do is say yes or no, this, you need to research this more, there's potential there, or no, don't waste your time, that's not for you, here's another avenue. And the multiple different loan options and grants and stuff that was out there is still a challenging landscape to navigate through, that's for sure.
And on top of that, Shannon, there is the aspect and the component of managing your staff remotely. We've had to do it at a corporate level, so hundreds of employees, but there are lessons to be had at the small business, level that you can share. And of course, there's some best practices too in marketing during a pandemic when all you hear about is COVID-19. So let's talk a little bit about that.
I think so. There's a couple of 2020 challenges not on the list here, one of which I would say is if I hear the term fluid or new normal again, I'm probably just going to wipe those from my vocabulary. But honestly, it really is. We took over 400 employees remote in a weekend. Not all of them are accustomed to working from home. Not all of them had the right office space to work from home. And I think the best and most important lesson in this whole thing, there's been many, there's silver linings, but there's been many lessons. And one of them was the word tolerance couldn't be more important. Like the flexibility to be able to allow folks the time and opportunity to work the way that they need to work was just imperative. When you had two parents at home trying to manage young children, trying to help them with schooling, maybe they couldn't work from 8 to noon and they needed to be flexible, work a little later in the day. We just had to work with our employees really one-on-one. I think our managers were critical to that messaging that it's going to be okay. We're going to get through it together. You don't have to, pushing people to sort of be on video all the time got very tiring and tedious, right? It's exhausting sitting straight up and down in your chair, making sure that you're representing your company and your profession well. But engaging employees, taking the time to once in a while do something fun. We do these little coffee breaks, even if it's just 15 minutes. I try to make sure I jump on calls and recognize at a corporate level, it's just multiple teams. So I try to make sure I get on with our customer service team and our sales team, talk with our finance teams, our developers, just pop in and say hi once in a while. They might have a question, they might have just some feedback. All of that is super important in our ability to pivot and keep people engaged. And I think as this goes on, it obviously does get harder. We're just going to we try to be cognizant of the tedium of sort of being at home, and then break that up with just some time that you don't have anymore at the water cooler or the coffee machine or whatever it may be to just stop by someone's desk and talk to them. So we try to just provide some opportunities through Teams as our primary, but it doesn't need to be Teams. If you're not using Zoom or GoToWebinar, whatever the tool is that works for you and your people, I think seeing people on screen and making people feel a little more normal is great. And I will say, it's been kind of wonderful being welcomed into all of our employees' homes a little bit. And, you know, I'm very open with, if the kids are up and you need to hold them, hold them. If the pets are driving you crazy, bring them into the call. We just sort of let it flow, because that's kind of what we have to do right now, making sure always that we're taking care of our customers. As long as that's happening, I don't care if your dog's on your lap while we're talking, that's fine.
Absolutely.
Using the tools is important. I'll add very quickly with marketing. I think the most important thing about marketing right now is you can't not do it. Like, there are ways to inexpensively get the word out. There's opportunities with, you know, in local communities, people, all the things Joe just talked about, people have questions. People want to understand. They're going to be, we're going to talk later a little bit about more challenges, but in 21, when people come in and have been on unemployment for a significant part of the year, do they have taxes withheld from that unemployment? And are they aware that it's taxable? I'm going to bet that a lot of people are going to be surprised by the taxability of that unemployment benefit. Getting ahead of that now, holding some calls, maybe doing a webinar at your Chamber of Commerce or a local Rotary Club event or whatever it may be, but just trying to get the word out for people to understand that these things might happen is, I think, the way to market for 21 is to get ahead of some of those questions that are going to be surprising for those filing next year.
And that's a great segue, Shannon, into the 2021 playbook. As we said, we were going to talk about, okay, now we understand what challenges we had. Let's move on to having a better 2021. And there's nothing that indicates that things are going to get better quickly. So we may be in a similar spot for tax season next year. So Joe, let's talk about some of the things that you put into place as you embrace a customer first business model. We've talked about this with you, offline, and very impressed always to hear about what you do and how you put your customer first.
Sure. Well, again, communication is kind of the absolute pinnacle, whenever there's confusion and change out there. And, one of our biggest concerns was, what if one of our we work with a lot of one-man, one-woman shows, tax offices. So they're the tax preparer, the janitor, they're opening, they're closing, they're doing it all. If that person gets sick, their clients have zero communication with what's going on with their tax situation. Has it been filed? Can they come in and file? Do they need to go somewhere else or what? And one thing we did was open up our communication, our 800 number for our tax offices to put out to their clients. And it's something similar that we do whenever there's, natural disaster areas. So if it's a hurricane or tornadoes or something like that, that's usually it's a local, small group that we put that out to. This year it was definitely considerably larger, but it's just super important to make sure that taxpayers have a line of communication to know what's going on. So if a small tax shop had to close, had to alter their hours, they could put up our number in the front door 800 number, call us, and we can tell you what's going on. That was really well received. That allowed our offices to kind of keep that communication chain open, even if they were experiencing, whether they're sick or, they've got, kids with 18 different things going on, and they're teaching third grade math that they haven't seen for quite a while. We can all sympathize with that. But the communication line was probably the most important. And with, like I said, everything changing, so this new stuff comes out, there'll be a lot of curveballs that taxpayers will throw you, and it's like, that's an interesting scenario. I haven't looked at that type of business, and maybe you would be qualify for the PPP. And talking to them, letting them know that you can look it up, we'll find it out. And there was a lot of that. It's, learning the right way to come across as knowledgeable and competent on the topic, but going out, use your resources to really dig in and find what the nitty-gritty answer is for a lot of those tough questions. Has served us pretty well, and I see that continuing definitely as we move into this year, and building
it will play
on that.
evident, Joe, as you look at your customer relationship, businesses that communicate early and often as you do and over communicate information, they establish that client relationship, that stickiness with your customer, and then it'll be a customer for life, or at the very least for next year, because you were the one communicating, you were the one informing. So all of that will definitely pay dividends.
Hopefully 2021 is when you get to cash in on a lot of those free services that you provided. Like I was talking about, the representation work, the calls to the IRS where you're on hold and you just spent 30 minutes trying to find out that yes, it's going to be another 60 days like I thought it would be, but now I officially know, and I can tell the client that should hopefully now start paying dividends once we get back into referrals and retaining those clients.
And Anthony, that's where you have talked about holding the one-to-many sessions with your taxpayer clients, just to keep them informed. That would be something that we want to continue in 2021. And then most definitely preparing for those new tax legislations, new regulations. So how do we do all of that?
Absolutely, that's definitely a big one. Just like I was saying earlier, doing those Zoom calls are important, and being proactive with the communication. Just like the guidance came out a few months ago or a few weeks ago about how to apply for forgiveness for the PPP loans, taking that initiative going forward with your client. Hey, I just done some research. I'm using our product, a professional research solution like Answer Connect, and let's walk through that process to get those PPP loans applied for you so you can get it forgiven, things of nature. So being proactive with the communication, because the clients don't know. This is not information. I used to always say this is not information that's on the nightly news. You can't turn on CNN and see this information on CNN, right? They just show bullet points if they ever do touch on these topics. So you've got to be that forward-thinking individual and reach out to your clients on a proactive basis. And one of the things that I notice about clients is, when you know the tax law that's changing, when you're on top of those changes or planning opportunities coming out, clients have a lot of respect for you. They see you as being a thought leader. They see you as being someone that's a leader. And so you were able to bring so much certainty in a time of uncertainty. And that's what true leadership is about. So being able to prepare for uncertainty when new tax legislations come out, I'm sure we're going to have some things that are going to be coming up this up and coming tax season, because we don't know what to expect. We don't know what to expect. We don't know if we may have another July 15th deadline coming up in 2021. Shannon's saying no.
That's right.
That's right, Anthony. And I was going to say too, as a consumer, as a taxpayer myself, I hear a lot on the news, and I just don't necessarily know what applies to me specifically. And that's where my professional tax preparer, my partner in business, is the one that will translate and will digest all of this information and tell me in return for my business, what does all of this mean to me? So looking forward to seeing all that great work from tax professionals. And Shannon, so as we look at technology for 2021 and we look at the need to work remotely, let's say things continue to be like this, and even if things get better, once you know that you can efficiently work remotely, you may choose to continue to do it. So you have to have the right technology in place, and you have to make sure that you keep security top of mind. You're a member of the IRS Security Summit, a lot of guidance there. So what are some of those tools that tax professionals need to keep in their toolbox for 2021?
Yeah, really. Obviously, security is always at top of the list of things at a corporate level that we think about daily. I feel like more than daily, if that's possible at the moment. But cyber crimes and phishing attempts and the litany of ways that these bad actors try to get into your data or to hack information has gone up exponentially during the pandemic as everybody is working remote. So you do have to be hyper vigilant. We encourage you to take a look at some of the information that's out there with the IRS Taxes Security Together, the Security 6. There's key things you need to focus on. You don't need to come up with an IT plan that rivals War and Peace, but you have to take some steps. You have to think about the infrastructure that you have in your office, and there's basic things you need to do. I know we have lots of information out there about this, and we've got a lot to cover here, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but I would definitely encourage you to go take a look at some of those things. I can tell you that the solutions that we have in play for digital and remote engagement, which I completely agree with Anthony, you want to be a forward-thinking business. People like to do business with people who are investing in their technology and in their assets. And because you're forward-thinking, you become trustworthy and you become a reliable source for them. Now, We've got mobile. That's a great option for some offices, but this is kind of my mantra. All of our tax offices, every single one of them is slightly different. There's not a one size fits all for any one of you. And I think having portal, having mobile, having TaxWise online are all options to consider. You don't need to, it doesn't need to be a huge lift and shift, but we don't know what's coming. And if anything, this whole year has taught us that we've got to continue to we've got to be prepared to be proactive, but we also have to know that we might have to react. So taking steps now to make sure you have a portal so people can securely send you information should they not be able to come to your office. Don't want, we've probably said it a million times, but emailing secure information with personally identifiable information now is more than ever. Now is definitely not the time to be doing that. So think about portal, think about mobile, which is going to have the ability this year for existing clients to update information through it and pull automatically into TWO, TaxWise Online. I'd say now's the time to start thinking about staying ahead of that curve.
And talking about having the need to work remotely, let's go ahead and poll our audience to see what everybody's situation was this year. We have a polling question here that I'm going to launch, and that is, did you have to run your business remotely this year? And if so, for how long? So did you have to run your business remotely for less than 4 weeks, more than 4 weeks, or were you able to make safety adjustments to stay open during the pandemic? And we're talking about the months of March through June. I think those were the key ones where pretty much everybody was trying to figure out what is it that we need to do. So as we look at the results come in, what did you have to do, Joe? Did you have to transition your business to operate remotely for more than 4 weeks, less than 4 weeks, or were you able to make safety adjustments to stay open?
You know, we are still primarily working from home for, I would say, 80+% of our staff. And, you know, so we certainly made some adjustments. When it came to physical tax preparation going on at our office, you know, we slowly made those changes to where I felt safe. You know, it was literally my dad and I were kind of the ones that are holding the fort down at the office while the rest of my staff is working remotely. And so, you know, it's I definitely was concerned for my own health and my dad's health. So it was one of those where we were kind of slow to adapt and to physically get back to actually allowing people in and doing face-to-face tax prep. But you know, we came up with some policies and procedures that you know, we were comfortable with, and that you know, fortunately, some of those elderly clients that weren't successful on getting the documents digitally to us, they were comfortable with it as well, and we're very happy that we made that. They, you know, while it was really an accommodation for me to feel comfortable as far as having people in here, you know, they felt that it was also an accommodation that we were doing for them so that they felt comfortable. And you know, I think that you know, 2021 ought to be a pretty good year for you know, seeing those dividends coming back from those efforts.
Absolutely. And we can see the results of the poll. 59% had to work remotely for more than 4 weeks, 10% less than 4 weeks, and 31% surprisingly was able to make safety adjustments to stay open. So that's all great to hear. And Joe, I feel I think that you fall within the 59% that, you know, it had to work remotely for more than 4 weeks, and it continues to work remotely. Maybe that should be a fourth answer. But that's
yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on to you know, the topic, which is, should I use a cloud solution in 2021, especially for those that had to or were forced to operate remotely? How did you do it? You know, if you were working with an on-premise solution, a desktop solution, how easily were you able to transition to operating remotely? That's where a cloud solution benefits your business best. So let's talk about, Joe, why do you even choose to use TaxWise Online? And you have been using it for 2006, as I mentioned earlier, even before it was even a hot topic, you know, cloud computing and security and all of that. You decided to transition your business to operating with online. Why?
Well, part of our service that we provide is the IT or technology element and support behind a tax office. And along with that comes software installation, updates, interactions with other stuff in the environment, whether it's printing returns and checks for bank products, or maybe getting onto the wireless network at an office or something. And the time requirements for installing desktop software, for updating desktop software, for trying to figure out what version of the operating system this person is on. There's so many more moving pieces and elements when it comes to dealing with a desktop environment versus online. And this year was great when it's like, okay, I need to do this from home. I'm going to be stuck there forever. No problem. If you don't have a laptop, you got a computer at home, we can get you logged in. Part of our stuff is kind of doing a quick security scan, making sure that the computer is not already infected and making sure it has some security, antivirus and stuff on there. But that's lightning fast in comparison to, okay, we need to physically get your client base moved over to this other network. It's just the portability of operation from doing your job. You could take it anywhere. And this year really made that front and center. And I say we probably have shifted from in 2006, maybe 5% of our offices were on the online, to now it's over 80%. And just this year, we had some diehards that were, I love my desktop. I know how it works. It's what I know and what I'm comfortable with. Several of these guys said, "This is the year. Let's do it." And there are some positives that come out of this. Like, I feel like my kid is going to be the best remote worker ever here whenever she actually gets out in the workforce. But it's these type of things that honestly have kind of pushed some of our users that are more set in their ways into looking at some of these new technologies as solutions for these just imminently in your face problems. It's worked out well, and I haven't talked to a single one that has made the switch that regrets it. So most of them are like, I wish I would have done it before, but there wasn't this huge 800-pound gorilla in the room forcing me to do it.
Shannon, you're on mute.
That's my other catchphrase for 2020. You're on.
Yeah.
Well, I think the other piece that's super important for people to understand with TaxWise Online is you don't have to commit to 100%. We're going to give you a desktop version as a backup if you need to go and work offline. You're still going to transmit through TaxWise Online to keep that database intact and together. But if you've got some holdouts in your office that are, I just want to stay on desktop, they literally could. If you want one person on desktop and everyone else is ready for online, you can do that. It's not that I'm suggesting that's the best solution, but there are options to sort of ease into it if there's that hesitancy that what if I can't. I like to point it out because
grace for us, definitely having that the one holdout that just whatever it is, I don't want to change. No problem, and we could get the rest of the office flowing over to being a little more efficient and more streamlined, and no problem. We can, it's usually the owner that it's the most experienced, usually the decision maker that doesn't want to make any changes, and it made it work.
Yeah, it's a great option for folks.
And what's great about it, Anthony, is that the desktop solution and the online, they look very similar. As you can see on screen, if you're a TaxWise desktop user, for example, your TaxWise online screen is what you're seeing here. You're not seeing the modern look of TaxWise desktop. This is what TaxWise online looks like. You have your forms on the right-hand side, your forms tree on the left-hand side. Everything is in the right place where it needs to be.
Absolutely. So as you're working through building that return, and one of the things too, because TaxWise is a live running solution, so with every single keystroke is calculating the client's tax liability, taxable income, and everything. It's also doing that in the online version as well. With every single keystroke, so you're not necessarily losing out of efficiency. You're actually gaining efficiency because you could work in a remote environment. Just having to download those states and things of that nature. So All the states are there, and you can even customize your templates, what we call the customize those templates in there, like we call it edit tax form defaults. That's there as well. So a lot of efficiency that you're gaining with the product as you're looking at it on the left-hand side. And we've even added some more cost-saving opportunities. Sorry, this is Joe's slide over here. No network setup or anything like that for maintenance. So pretty much you can work with it on an actual tablet. It's not restricted to a Windows computer. So a Mac, you've got some folks that want to use the tax software on a Mac or a tablet. It's very accessible from there as well too. You can even access it on your phone, but I don't think you want to prepare a tax return on your on your smartphone. But absolutely.
But it's cool that you can. And if it comes to save the day, if you are stuck somewhere, you're in the car and you have to answer a question, you could very well log into TaxWise Online from your phone. And Joe, I'm sure you do it. You do it sometimes. In those desperate moments when you just need to get a hold of the information.
You need a piece of information, and man, you're the hero if you can relay it quickly.
You just need a bigger phone.
That's right.
Absolutely. Especially too when it comes to some of those administrative tasks, like being able to share certain documents. We've connected our mobile site with the actual TaxWise platform. So if the client needs a document, you could actually connect it, and you could actually share that document with them. Now, one of the things I realized this upcoming tax season, I had a friend reach out to me that wanted me to do their taxes, and she said, Anthony, I don't have a computer. I don't have a laptop. I said, well, you don't? She said, no, I hate technology. I'm a respiratory therapist, but I hate technology. So I said, okay, I'm going to text you this link. When you get this link, I want you to create an account. And she literally on her phone took pictures of all her documents and used the mobile site to send me the information. And because we have tools like e-signature and things of that nature, which made it very easy to work remotely, pretty much she sent me all her documents from her phone using the mobile site. It loaded directly in TaxWise Online, and I was able to prepare that return for her. And then using some of our partners at Textilent, which we'll talk about later, she got a text message notification when her return got accepted by the IRS. So we'll touch on that a little bit later, give you a little bit of a sneak peek.
That's right, Anthony. And Joe, so one of the costs that businesses that operate on premise with desktop solutions, one of the big costs is that networking and the hardwiring and all of that. With an online solution, you don't have to deal with that. So you could really plug in a computer, turn it on, connect it to the internet wireless. You don't need all those cables anymore. And even better, you don't need the maintenance of all of that hardware anymore. That was typically an annual expense.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. I can't tell you how many times I was like, is your wireless network up to speed? And are you using a plug-in dongle, or do you have a wired network? What are we dealing with here? And depending on how stable their actual office network was, meant how stable the tax software is going to work. Now it's if you're hooked up to the cloud, you're pretty good.
You can access your information anytime, anywhere. So let's talk a little bit about what you were mentioning, Anthony, which is communication with customers. And I'm going to launch another polling question just to see what our audience did this year and how they communicated with their customers primarily. So was your primary method of communication phone? Was it text? Was it email? Was it video conference? Or was it a client portal if you needed to share information back and forth? So very interested to see what everybody's answer will be. I can take a guess. Of course, email would be a primary tool. We'll talk about why not, for sensitive information. But very interesting. Hopefully, I see a lot of video conference. I'm hoping that's something that people leveraged this year because we don't have the in-person interaction. But Joe, what was your primary method of communication this year during the pandemic? March through June, July.
Mm-hmm. We when it came to communicating with our offices around the country, video conference and email was our primary. But when it came to actual interaction with taxpayers, it's awful tough to beat text messaging. Like when it comes to, I really got to get a hold of somebody, and even here when we're dealing with tax office owners, when it's like I want to, I need this answer, text messaging is definitely pick up the phone or send a text message, one of the two. And amazingly enough, seems like the text messaging gets answered a lot more prevalently.
And surprisingly, it took the third spot in our poll. So first one being phone conversations of 41%, 30% being email, 15% text, 11% client portal, and 4% video conference. So very interested to see what everybody did this year, with everything going on. And so with that, let's talk a little bit about client portals and what they are. I know that you use a client portal to securely share documents back and forth with customers, Joe. Why do you use that method of communication?
It really gets back to what Shannon was talking about: security, security, and then probably security again. You know, I can't tell you how many times a taxpayer, and this is within my friends and family group of clients that I do, that they'll be like, hey, I'm at home, I'll open up my email here, trust me, it's fine, just send it to me. And it's like, no, it's not the fact that I'm worried about somebody looking over your shoulder at the email. That's not the case. And we are in such a targeted industry, and people just don't realize. They really don't realize. That Anthony, that client you're talking about, that's the respiratory therapist. They have no clue of the stuff that's going on behind the curtain when it comes to who's trying to get to this sensitive data. And you can tell them, and you can try to make that case, and you can actually educate a lot of people, but the reality is we know how bad it is, and we know that it's a constant threat. And in my mind, we're the bad guys if anything happens. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen tax returns get filed, and it's like, hey, it can't get accepted, it's already been accepted somewhere else. And immediate sign, we got identity theft. And the first question is, well, what did you do? And I'm like, I didn't do anything. What do you mean? What did I do? And it's let's see what we can do to help you get out of this situation. But your clients are relying on you whether they know it or not, and it's your responsibility. And like I said, you've got mud on your face if they're a victim of identity theft, whether it was your fault or somebody else's fault. You're the one that gets to deal with it. So.
One thing too, I want to add something to that, especially folks, everyone that's on the call, think about how many clients that you have that you never met face to face in person. When a client reached out to you, say, hey, I was recommended to you by Joe, can you please how do I send you my documents? And the first thing, that you've got a system in place, and yes, I'm going to send you a secure link, go in there, register to that link, and create a login, and you'll be able to upload your documents to there. The client automatically has some level of respect for you, that this person has a system in place. They've got a sense of organization and order. And then as things start to progress with that engagement with that client year after year, that client's able to say, hey, I'm refinancing my mortgage or something like that, I need to get documents over. We've got it in our client portal where they can invite their mortgage broker, invite their loan officer to be able to get copies of the tax return. So now, not only you're a trusted advisor, but you're a trusted resource. You've got all your sensitive information for that client in one central location. They know where to get it, and they've got a great level of respect for you because they see you utilizing technology to simplify the process.
That's right, Anthony. And the other tool that we've seen heavy use on this year is the texting for tax professionals. So I know you're a big fan. Both you and Joe have implemented texting for communicating with customers. Let's do a quick overview of what it means and how it actually works within TaxWise in particular.
Absolutely. I'm definitely a big fan of the Textland platform, because now, even myself, I don't read every email that comes into my email box. I got like over 1,000 emails in my personal email box. So having a way to securely connect with clients, but you don't want to be texting clients from your phone every time. So there's some automation tools that we have, and it also has a marketing element. See, when you become a customer of TaxWise Online, that data automatically syncs with Textland, the client's names, their address, the client's names, their phone numbers, and then now you have an opportunity to send engaging messages to your group of clients with just one mass text message. So it automatically too, if it's their client's birthday, you can send out unbulk happy birthday messages. Clients appreciate that, because you got to think about it. In these months right now, October, the last time you spoke to that client was in February, and this is October, that's months have gone by, but that client automatically getting a text message saying happy birthday or happy Mother's Day, happy Father's Day. Those are some really great campaigns. But then also too, that two-way communication. So like with your staff, Maybe you're managing that relationship with the client, but the staff member is preparing a return. That staff member can use TextLink to text that client, hey, I'm missing some information, please upload it to the client portal. So it really allows you to kind of expand yourself and not just limited to you being able to managing that relationship. It also has appointment scheduling tools as well that you can actually do some appointment scheduling by sending information out to the client through text message. And one last thing that I want to reiterate is, as tax season is coming up here, you can have your list of clients in a marketing campaign and your text message them, here's our mobile site link, everyone, it's tax season coming around the corner, here's our mobile site, you can click on that link and start beginning to send us your documents. So it really allows for good communication. You'd be surprised. I've used TextLink. It's a great tool. I highly encourage you to talk to your to think about implementing that into your firm.
That's right, Anthony. And as we wrap up our presentation, Shannon, let's talk a little bit about bank products, because they may come to the rescue next year as customers, taxpayers are finding it hard to come up with the cash to pay for tax prep. Joe, I know you're a big fan. We're certainly a big fan, as a company with bank products. So how are they going to come into play a big role in 2021, Shannon?
Yeah, look, we're a big fan of things that drive productivity for tax professionals and that get the American taxpayer the refunds that they're due. The reality is there's a wide population of people who can't afford to pay for tax prep up front. We pride ourselves on bringing probably the largest depth and breadth of bank product solutions available in the industry. Every office, as I said early on, is different. We recognize that. We recognize that there are all shapes and sizes here, which is why the array of products that we offer is designed to meet the needs of different offices. We partner with all of the major banks in the business, TPG and MetaBank with EPS and Refund Advantage, and Republic Bank, fully integrated solutions. We work very closely with our bank partners to make sure we're bringing products to market as partners, ones that meet the needs of our tax preparers. There is an opportunity for increased revenue. Recognize some offices prefer a lower end to the fee structure and less fees. We have options like that as well. The multitude of different things that you can do to implement the ability for offices, for your tax customers to not have to come out of pocket for tax prep fees, and for you to get paid in a very streamlined fashion out and having collection efforts. Again, I would really, really encourage you to talk through those options and what is available. I think their bank products can be misunderstood in the space in some ways. But if you have that conversation with your sales rep, they can talk you through what all of those options might be.
That's right, Shannon. And so, Anthony, let's go ahead and do a quick summary of all the solutions that we've talked about today when it comes down to technology. And Joe, you use most of these solutions in your business. You were able to grow amid everything that was going on, and that's going to be the case again for your business next year. So let's go ahead and do a quick summary, Anthony, here to wrap it up, and then we'll launch our last polling question for everybody.
All right, absolutely. Thanks, Luis. So let's kind of recap this right here. So for instance, just like that client, that respiratory therapist client that called me on a Saturday while I was watching a movie, I was able to send her a text message of a link. She got our TaxWise mobile link, and as you're seeing a picture of that on the screen, she was able to enter in her name, her income, her deductions, take pictures of her documents. After she got those documents automatically loaded to the TaxWise Online and created a profile for her in my TaxWise Online, and I was able to start preparing her tax return utilizing that information, and everything went into our vault, and that's the place where the documents get stored at, and you can access those documents in the tax return. Then if I was missing any information, I was able to use TextLink to text her saying, hey, can you go back and upload that additional 1099 or that additional information using TextLink, that two-way communication. So that's wonderful for her. So then now, once we finished the return, I was able to send her electronic signature of that 1040 to sign. So she was able to sign that 1040 and the state return as well too. So she's able to sign the federal and state returns. She's able to do that utilizing our e-signature platform. And then a copy of her return was stored directly in the client portal. So when she needs to get a copy of that return, if she's applying for a mortgage or something like that, that return is directly in the client portal. So I never met her face to face, never met her, but it was a complete digital interaction. She was able to have a digital experience and be able to get effective service. And then one last thing too, when her tax return got accepted by the taxing authorities, she got a text message notification saying your return was accepted automatically. And then when her birthday comes up in a few months, she'll get a text message automatically saying happy birthday.
And that all sounds great, Anthony. I'm sure that anybody that uses technology, anybody that's familiar with technology, wants to use more of it because it just really creates more efficiencies. It creates your operational, everything just gets better with technology. So I'm going to go ahead and launch our last polling question, and that is, do you want to learn more about the TaxWise Virtual Office as you consider the potential use of remote tools, technology, and cloud solutions for your business? And as we leave the polling question open, Joe, Shannon, and Anthony, let's talk a little bit about predictions for next year. Do you think that we'll see another April 15th deadline, extension next year? How do you feel about tax season 2021?
I'm definitely excited about 2021. My gut says that we won't have an extension just because we kind of know what we're going into at this point, and I feel like by then we ought to have our ducks in a row, both throughout the industry at the preparer and practitioner level, and as well at the IRS. But it has definitely been the time for surprises. So I'm gonna I'll hold off on placing any bets, but I am hoping for an April 15th. That's for sure.
Shannon, do you have any final words, advice for everybody for a great tax season 2021?
I kind of second to what Joe said, but I'm hesitant to place any bets right now.
Yes.
We have seen anything be possible in this last year, and while I agree, Joe, I think we have our ducks in a row. Everyone will have learned how to work in this remote environment. We hopefully have some normalcy returning to a lot of our communities. But how long that goes on, I think, is really a valid question at the moment. But ready, whatever it is, we're going to be prepared for it, and we'll adjust accordingly. And obviously, we'll encourage the IRS to keep the deadline on time. I think they would like it to stay the same as well.
And so, Anthony, any final words for our audience today? Any piece of advice, final recommendations?
Absolutely. I definitely want to encourage firms to take advantage of the technology that's available to you. You'll start to see that instead of you having to meet face to face with all your clients, things of that nature, by utilizing these mobile tools that are available, you could probably see yourself becoming more profitable. You could probably get more returns done, collect more data more efficiently from your clients, and streamline that preparation process. So I know a lot of customers saw that they were able to prepare. I think we had about 17, 18% of customers in the polls that they were able to prepare more returns. So if you're able to prepare more returns, that means you can become more profitable in your business. So I encourage you, please embrace these mobile applications. If you haven't, reach out to Luis or definitely your account manager to learn more about those and take advantage of the technology offerings we have here at Wolters Kluwer.
That's right, Anthony. So our contact information is on the screen. If you're a current TaxWise customer, the number that you see on screen is for our account management team. So if you'd like to learn more about TaxWise Online, the virtual office, client portal, TextLint, that's a good number to call. If you answer yes to the poll, we'll also follow up with you. If you're not using TaxWise, we will contact you if you said yes, I'd like to learn more. But also there's a page on screen that you can visit. You can learn more about TaxWise Online. You can download a trial version if you just want to give it a test run. My email address is also on screen. So if I can answer any questions, happy to do so. Joe, thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely.
We know that you are still wrapping up your season. October 15th is not here yet.
Yes.
So you are still busy. You're still collaborating with your partner offices. So we appreciate you taking the time to meet with us today and share your insights, part of why your business is so successful today.
Hey, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And Shannon, as always, a pleasure. As our segment leader and vice president for the prepared market, you drive our success as a company. So definitely a lot of insights to share, and we appreciate your time.
Always happy to be here.
And Anthony, our enroll agent, solution architect, thank you so much. We do so many of these. As a matter of fact, we were hosting a Schedule C deductions session yesterday. Always a success. Always a pleasure having you. Thank you for your time. Thank you to our panel, and thank you everybody for joining us. We will stay here in the Q&A for a couple more minutes if you have any remaining questions, and we'll be in touch. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.